Suppose you're an influencer who's racked up millions of views from your TikTok skits about the service industry. Whether intentionally or not, your skits often explore topics such as the struggles of the working class and power imbalances.
Hannah, hello. Where were you? In the bathroom? For 7 minutes? You timed it? Well, actually, I started timing 1 minute in, so really it was 8 minutes. Okay, do you need me for something? What were you even doing in there? Going to the bathroom. Okay, I just don't get why that would take so long. I don't know how to answer that without giving you some very personal information. Interesting. Do you want like a play-by-play? What I want is for you to do your job and not slack off. Okay, if I'm gonna be working 9 hours with no break, I'll go to the bathroom whenever I want.
Now suppose you're caught attending a vigil for a man who made it his life's mission to further disenfranchise the working class, give more power to the already powerful, and eliminate entire marginalized groups. Your attendance at this vigil justifiably upsets many of your followers. Do you A, acknowledge the message that this could send to your followers and have some empathy for them? B, pretend it never happened and keep posting your usual content? Or C, post a snarky TikTok in which you talk down to your followers for being upset by your actions? Well, if you're a TikToker Hannah Brown, you unfortunately pick option C. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and on this channel we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church, and we also do some commentary on the goings-on in evangelical Christianity. So as I'm writing the script for this video, it's been about 3 weeks since Charlie Kirk was assassinated at an event in Utah. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's been way longer than that. And I think it feels this way because right-wing media has relentlessly exploited his death. Hell, they even turned his memorial service into a MAGA political rally hosted by various far-right politicians and pundits. Because in MAGA world, memorials aren't a time to fondly remember your loved one who tragically died. No, they're just another chance to own the libs, of course.
I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
I do want to be clear that I don't condone political violence. However, political violence has been an ever-present force in American life long before what happened to Charlie Kirk, and has been largely supported and funded by people like Charlie Kirk. Also, the circumstances of his death don't warrant the whitewashing of his past or legacy. Kirk was a white supremacist who mainstreamed the Great Replacement conspiracy theory started by the KKK. He was a theocrat who believed in the Seven Mountain Mandate, which seeks to give the church full control of government. He was a bigot who advocated for violence against marginalized groups and queer folks. Hate is his legacy. Either Hannah Brown was oblivious to who Kirk really was before attending a vigil in his honor, or she knew full well and chose to go anyway. So how was Hannah caught attending this vigil? Well, on September 22nd, a TikToker going by the username Bradley Chicago posted a screenshot taken from a live stream of a Charlie Kirk vigil to TikTok. The screenshot seemed to capture Hannah at this event, with several people in red MAGA hats seated behind her. In the description of their TikTok, Bradley writes, "Please tell us you were undercover." In the comment section of Bradley's TikTok, several users point out that before even attending the vigil, Hannah had reposted a TikTok comparing Charlie Kirk to Jesus. I watched this TikTok and I'm not sure if it was exactly comparing Kirk to Jesus. I mean, you could interpret it that way for sure, and I do not blame people for interpreting it that way, but it definitely, without question, portrayed him as a martyr for the Christian faith. And she reposted this only a day after his assassination, before the perpetrator had even been caught. As someone who keeps really close tabs on conservative Christian influencers, in my opinion, a repost like this is very much in line with the evangelical far-right media ecosystem. Influencers like Bryce Crawford and Ashley Hetherington were loudly claiming Kirk was martyred for Christianity just hours after it happened. While the suspect is now in custody, his exact motivations still aren't completely clear. So no, Kirk is not a martyr for Christianity, and anyone who continues to claim otherwise is simply exposing their belief that Christianity and far-right extremism are one and the same. After being called out for attending the vigil, Hannah decided to address the entire situation. On September 23rd, Hannah posted a TikTok with the caption, John 15:18. John 15:18 says, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first." So not only is Hannah potentially likening Charlie Kirk to Jesus, but she also kind of likens herself and her situation to the life of Jesus. It's so funny to me how conservative Christians constantly accuse us non-believers of self-centeredness while they're out here literally comparing themselves to the Son of God. Like, girl, that's a little delulu. You're not being nailed to a cross because some people disagreed with you on TikTok. Like, I get that having this much criticism isn't fun, but you're not being tortured or put to death over it. Anyway, I'd like to now respond to what Hannah had to say in her TikTok. And for this part of the video, I'm going to bring Drew on to hopefully get some of his thoughts on this entire situation as well.
All right, this is the only time I'm ever going to address this. First of all, I am not MAGA. I was not at a MAGA rally. I went to a memorial for Charlie Kirk, a man who was brutally assassinated in front of thousands of people, a man who has a wife and children who will never get to see him again, and despite our differing beliefs, a man who did not deserve to die. I don't agree with a lot of what Charlie believed. Do I think that means he should be shot and killed? No. And if you disagree with that, we truly have nothing in common.
So I feel like she's setting this up so that there's kind of this tension between herself, and she like went to the vigil, and people that are giving her a hard time about her going. And she's kind of conflating people giving her a hard time with that with like celebrating Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I think that people had a problem with her just attending the vigil, not necessarily that they think that Charlie Kirk should have died.
Yeah.
And I think that you can stand against political violence and think that he shouldn't have been killed while also not attending the vigil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of the go-to move anytime anybody has anything negative to say about Charlie Kirk's life, to say, well, you're celebrating his death. I have continued to say, like I said when Charlie Kirk was alive, that he was a fascist who called for the death and even outright genocide of millions of people.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. I stand on that. And as soon as I said that, people said, you're celebrating his death. Mm. And I can see why people would be maybe upset that she would be at the memorial, like kind of celebrating his life, and while simultaneously not like saying, yes, death is good, because those aren't the same thing.
Yeah. I think there's somebody who like said this quote, and I can't remember where this exact quote comes from, but I feel like it's really applicable to the Charlie Kirk situation. They said, I'm sorry that he died, but I'm also sorry that he lived. And I think that those are two things that you can, like, they might sound like they contrast, but I think it's two things that you can have simultaneously in one person, like two different feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I stand against political violence. I don't want political violence in any form in our country. But in that way, I guess I stand against his death. But I'm also not, I don't feel like I'm obligated to have like a certain emotion or feel some type of way over the fact that he's no longer going to be here to continue hurting marginalized communities.
Yeah.
So I feel like those two things can exist at the same time.
There's a purposeful conflation between celebrating his death and wanting more death and violence generally with just telling the truth about that he was not a good person.
Yeah.
Like, those things are being conflated, and that's making discourse on this pretty difficult.
Yeah. Well, and also at the beginning of this, when she was saying that, like, I didn't go to a MAGA rally, I went to a memorial. And it's like, first of all, she actually technically went to a vigil, as far as I understand. She didn't go to the actual Charlie Kirk memorial. I think this vigil was, like, held at the same time as the memorial.
Okay.
But that being said, if you actually watched footage from the memorial, which I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch probably an hour of it. I mean, it is a straight up political rally.
Yeah.
And even in the footage, like the little screenshot of her at the vigil, like, people were wearing MAGA hats. It's like because Charlie Kirk was this really prominent person in kind of like political influencing, that's like inherently like any vigil or memorial service for him is going to be inherently tied to politics.
Yeah.
So you are kind of making a political stance with that. There's no way to like fully separate yourself from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't see Charlie Kirk as being very far removed from being like a Marco Rubio or a Pete Hegseth or something. I think that he was just as politically influential as them, actually. And, if Marco Rubio was assassinated, would you go and be like, this is such a loss for the Trump administration? Or would you be like, well, he's actually responsible for putting kids in camps, and so I'm not, you know what? Like, it sucks when people die, obviously, but like, I'm not going to go and celebrate his life because that is what a memorial is.
Right.
I was so disturbed last Wednesday when I opened TikTok and had to watch the video of him being assassinated, and even more disturbed when I opened the comments and all of them were celebrating and rejoicing his death.
How disturbed were you when you saw the live stream of the genocide in Palestine for the last 2 fucking years?
Yeah.
Like, how disturbed were you when you saw the White House itself celebrating people being in shackles and being deported and put in concentration camps? Like, how disturbed were you about thousands, if not millions of people having their lives like destroyed or even taken from them? Innocent, just random people. How much did you care about that?
Yeah, that's kind of where my head immediately jumped when I first heard this. I was recently watching a Taylor Lorenz video that was about, she like put it out like right after the Charlie Kirk thing happened. And she had said that when she hears people talk about how gruesome and horrible the footage of Charlie Kirk's death was, that she has a hard time relating to that because while yes, like objectively that footage should be gruesome to
it
people.
should be shocking.
It should be
people.
shocking.
Yeah.
But the reality is we've seen for the past 2 years, we've seen way, like I myself have seen like way worse things coming from the genocide in Gaza.
I mean, I've seen worse things coming from the police.
And
the police don't even get in trouble for it.
Yeah. And like, so, because I saw the Charlie Kirk footage, and while, yeah, like again, it is gruesome. It is something that no one should have to see, but it's pretty, how do I want to say this? Like, I don't want to say that it's not gruesome, but in comparison to a lot of the things that I've seen, it's on the like not as gruesome side.
Yeah.
So
the way that I would say it is that like among all of the gruesome footage that's out there of people being killed, like all of the political violence that we see, it's not a standout example.
Yeah.
It's not standout. The only difference is that this guy is famous.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's the only difference. Why is it so gruesome when someone's famous, but it's not when it's a regular person who's not?
Like, and we're living in a time of like heightened political violence.
Yeah.
And so when she says, "Oh, I was so disturbed that I had to see this," it's like, yes, you should be disturbed, but also like, why are you just now suddenly like speaking out about political violence when our government has perpetuated political violence, whether that's in Gaza or here in America, against marginalized communities primarily, and that all has been like live streamed to social media pretty much. Like, we've all seen that footage. Why is this now suddenly the thing that you're going to speak out against?
Yeah.
It seems, it's just a little odd.
I mean, it's like, to put this in perspective, imagine that Tyler Robinson, first of all, was not convicted of the murder, and was praised by a lot of people. And the most famous and politically influential podcasters in the world went on and said, actually, Charlie Kirk didn't die of a bullet wound. He died from a fentanyl overdose, and the bullet just happened to travel through his neck while he was dying of the fentanyl overdose. And then you produce an entire, like, I believe it's 12-part series of why this entire thing was a complete fraud, and why the Tyler Robinson is actually like a really like decent person who did nothing wrong. And then you like conflate that with like religious morality, because that's what Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk did when it came to George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. And I mean, imagine if Charlie Kirk died and then Tyler Robinson was not convicted and then was given a book deal by a left-wing publisher. That's what happened to the murderer of Breonna Taylor, who, by the way, was literally sitting on her couch and was just shot in her own apartment, doing nothing. Like, that stuff's like old news at this point. You know, like, where have you been?
Yeah. And that's stuff that Charlie Kirk himself did. And he even said that he was okay with some gun violence every year if that meant that you could keep guns.
Yeah, he said that children dying in schools was worth it. For the sake of us keeping our guns, like assault rifles specifically.
And again, that doesn't, like, just because he said that doesn't mean that he deserved to die for saying that. But it's still like, why is there such a demand for people to have like certain emotions? Like, people on the right feel like they have the right to dictate what our emotions should be about the situation, which just feels like really thought crimey in my opinion. And it's like, why should I have to like feel so much like empathy and grieve so much over this when the man himself did not give an ounce of empathy to other people that have died from political violence?
I mean, he said that he didn't like empathy.
Yeah,
so that it was a bad thing. I've been personally asked, like, where's your empathy? And it's like, I understand why you're asking me that, because you have a normal like expectation of human beings to have empathy. I get that. But like, the person you're asking me to have empathy for, like, ironically said empathy is bad. Right. So, I mean, it's kind of like, aren't you showing that you're actually more humane than the person that you're saying was a good person and that you're like valorizing at this point? Like, that's odd to me.
Yeah. I do want to quote Taylor Lorenz, because I feel like she had something really, really good to say about what constitutes political violence. And that's what her entire video was about, is like, let's talk about what political violence actually is. And she said, when political leaders and the media talk about political violence, they're not actually talking about violence in any universal sense. They're talking about violence specifically against elites or people who look like them or people who maintain the existing power structures. Yep. The violence that is already a daily feature for poor, immigrant, Black, disabled, and queer communities is completely invisible to them. And I thought that this was something that was like really applicable to the Hannah Brown situation, because it's like, you're suddenly saying, oh, political violence is bad, when that political violence is directed towards somebody who was an elite. Yeah. Like, Charlie Kirk cosplayed as a regular person, but like, he was not a regular person in any sense. Like, he was very much an elite. He had a lot of power. He had this really big political organization, Turning Point USA, which became one of the biggest political organizations in the U.S. for conservatives, or just in general.
He actually had two of them, like Turning Point Action and Turning Point Faith are independently two of the largest political organizations in the entire United States. And that's why he had the ear of the president.
Yeah, I mean, he was instrumental in getting Trump elected.
Yeah, twice.
So,
yeah.
like, he's not a regular dude.
Right.
So it's like, you have to think about the fact for Hannah that, like, you suddenly being disturbed over political violence when it is an elite and, frankly, like, a white person, like, that says a lot about what you care about.
Yeah.
And, like, where your priorities are.
Right. I would say it would be like not being upset about ICE until, like, Kim Kardashian gets deported. But, I mean, frankly, Charlie Kirk is more influential than Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Like, by a lot, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not even a good comparison.
I did not go to the memorial to align myself with any political views or to make a political statement. I went to pay my respects to a human that died. And everybody that is attacking me for going to a memorial, really listen to that and think how insane that sounds. A man was murdered. Whether or not you agree with his political beliefs is so irrelevant. Because truly, if you are against gun violence, which why would you not be, you cannot celebrate when someone you don't like gets shot. You are a hypocrite.
There's so much here to address. Like, first of all, like, why did she think this was a good idea to, if you're gonna address something that really upset a lot of your followers, not considering, like, it could be anything, like, not necessarily a Charlie Kirk thing, but, like, anything that your followers are upset about, and you come on with, like, this really snarky, like, condescending attitude, like, why did you think that was gonna work out well for you?
Yeah.
Like, why are you being so, like, I don't know what the right word would be for it.
Snarky.
Yeah, like snarky. Like,
Yeah.
There's no other word for, like, why are you being so snarky? Like, you can state your opinion about it without having that snarky attitude, I think. But also, I feel like, you know, because she says, I didn't go to make a political statement.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? Like, honestly, though, like, your intention doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're intending to make a political statement, you did make a political statement.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk was a very prominent political figure. So you attending, and a very, like, polarizing figure. So you attending a vigil and saying it's in his honor and all that kind of stuff, that is sending a message that you aligned with his beliefs, especially in the light of the fact that just earlier this year, there was a Democrat congresswoman and her husband that were shot and killed in a political assassination.
Yeah.
Did Hannah make any attempt to go to any vigils or memorials for them?
Right.
Like, I don't know for sure, but she didn't put she wasn't caught at any of those, and she hasn't said that she attended any of them, and she never said anything publicly, as far as I know, about Melissa Hartman and her assassination. So it's like, it going to the one, like, going to a vigil that's for one specific person who identifies in one specific way politically, and then ignoring other acts of violence and other politically motivated instances of violence, like, that is sending a message.
Yeah.
Like, silence in action is a message in itself.
Yeah. I think that the thing that really bothers me about this is that, like, the Overton window has shifted such, or maybe better said, like, the far right has so much control at this point over our culture that, like, it is seen as non-political to openly, publicly mourn the death of someone who is, I would say, the equivalent to David Duke, but that's only in his actual views. And by David Duke, I mean the Grand Wizard of the KKK from, like, the 60s to the 90s.
Yeah.
Who did actually hold political office, by the way. If you ever wonder if fascists get elected or if they just kill people, no, they get elected and then they kill people. That's how it works. But, like, I would say that he's like David Duke, but he has more power than all of the KKK combined ever had. And
he perpetuates a lot of KKK talking points.
Yeah, like the Great Replacement Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah.
That's like a straight up KKK thing. And that was, like, one of the main messages that he actually had. But I was saying, it's awful that it has become so normalized for these, like, far right figures to just exist in our consciousness that going and publicly mourning them is just seen as just mourning a human being in a non-political way.
Right.
Whereas, I don't know, if you did the nonsense thing of just like, I'm going to post a black screen for Black Lives Matter or whatever, like that's a very political thing. Like just to post on your Instagram a black screen, which is like can be interpreted however you want. But like basically, I kind of care about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Like that is seen as inherently political to most people. I would agree that it is political.
Yeah.
But then this is somehow not perceived to her as being political when one is a rather like honestly middle of the road movement. And then like this was a straight up fascist that in the 1960s like would have probably just openly identified as a Nazi.
Well, and he's someone who like probably would have identified as a Nazi, but also in effect has led, like he himself has caused the deaths of countless people. If we're talking about people that have been in like ICE detention centers and have died in their custody, whether that's trans youth who've unfortunately unalived themselves because of the hatred that they face from people like Charlie Kirk and the hate that he spreads. Like he has, even if he's not like pulling the trigger himself, he has led to the deaths of like countless people. Yeah. And like that is just like something that we don't want to talk about. And like that's not worthy of Hannah going to pay her respects to those people. But for some reason, Charlie Kirk is like an exception. And when we're talking about like Black Lives Matter stuff and how that's seen as like having a black square on your profile picture, or just like even writing, like having a fence that says like Black Lives Matter on it or something. That's not only now seen as like inherently political, that's like seen as like domestic terrorism. Yeah. And so like literally small action of doing that like has escalated to the point where now our administration is labeling it as terrorism. Yeah. But then going to a vigil or a memorial for a straight up white supremacist is just like honoring someone who died. Yeah. Yeah. That's where they want it to be. Yeah. That's what they want, because it allows them to control us and get away with as much murder as they want. Yeah. I just think it's insane that she's telling her followers that they're insane for having a problem with her going to this vigil. And it's like, and she's like, oh, well, you need to like sit with that for a minute and like see how insane you sound. It's like, you need to sit with that for a minute and realize that you like went to a vigil for someone who's like basically espousing KKK level rhetoric. Not even basically, literal KKK rhetoric. Because like the Great Replacement, like conspiracy theory, that was like their primary doctrine. Came up. The KKK came up with that. Yeah. And Charlie Kirk has like talked a ton about that, and he says it's not a theory, it's a reality. Yeah. Like, why don't you sit with that for a minute? Right. And like realize how like crazy that also sounds.
So if you want to unfollow me, completely fine. I would rather have 0 followers than have hundreds of thousands of people that would celebrate the death of a man who just wanted to speak. But just know that there is nothing you can take from me that matters. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Jesus is king, and thank you so much to everyone that is still supporting me and defending me. I love you so much, and I appreciate you. And for the people who are attacking me or unfollowing me, I love you too. Oh,
the Jesus is king thing. Does she not know that that is a white Christian nationalist thing?
Is Jesus is king? Oh, white nationalist thing, or is it Christ is king? I thought it was. Or
as far as I know, those are interchangeable. But no, Christ is king is a purposeful like.
No, I know it's
started by people who want to overthrow the government and install a Christian fascist regime, like a monarchy. Yeah. That like says that God is the king of the country, like Christ is the king of the country, but really it's, Mike Johnson. Yeah. But yeah, what the fuck? Like she thinks that's not political?
I mean, maybe she just really doesn't know what that's associated with. Because I actually did have, when I first watched this, I had a thought about that. I was like, isn't that like basically a phrase that's been co-opted by white supremacists? Yeah. I was looking it up, and it's like Christ is king is what a lot of white supremacists, they'll like hashtag their stuff on social media with that. And it's become kind of a thing that white supremacists say. So I don't know if the Jesus is king is different. or if that's still like very like too close for comfort, like with its association.
I don't know. To me, that's kind of like saying that you're really into the 13 words rather than the 14 words because you just made it more concise or something. Like, no, that's way too close to not be the same thing to me.
Yeah. But yeah, her saying like, oh, a man who just wanted to speak. What?
Just
like,
wanted to kill all gay people. Just wanted to repeal the Civil Rights Act. Just wanted Jim Crow laws. Just wanted women to not have the same rights as men. Like, just wanted Christians to rule the government, which apparently she likes. And just wanted immigration to this country to stop unless it was coming from exclusively white countries. Yes, that's something that he advocated for.
Well,
like,
and
speak. He did things.
Well, I think that's what I'm trying to get to is like, sometimes I feel like people like this like act like he was just going around like just talking to people, just like, oh, it's the marketplace of ideas, we're just, you know, having conversation here, and ignoring that like he actually did a lot of things. Like he created these organizations, he created ties with a lot of, you know, conservative politicians. He worked really, really hard at getting a lot of conservative policy passed. So it's like he wasn't just like talking.
Yeah.
Like he was doing a lot of things. And a lot of the things that he was doing led to not only harm to a lot of people, but like a lot of people's deaths.
Yeah.
And like that's something that we apparently are not aware of because a lot of people are so brain broken from social media that they think that like all people do is just talk on the internet and like nothing's actually happening in the background.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like Charlie Kirk did not start as like a YouTuber or podcaster at all. For several years, he just organized on campuses, like specifically to like resist gay groups on campus. Mm-hmm. Like that's what he did. He was a grassroots political organizer first, and then as a recruiting strategy for his existing organizations, which were at that point already deeply entrenched in the Republican Party with real people, then started debating people on campus to make easy content. It's like the easiest content you can make. And he lost constantly. If you watch his debates, like he comes off like just a smarmy moron a lot of the times. And there's like plenty of 18-year-olds who completely kick his ass. Why did he keep posting? It's not because he cared about winning that. It's because he cared about making content so he could recruit people for his in real life stuff.
It was like quantity over quality. Like, unfortunately, how it works on social media is the people that win out are those who like put out the most content and like say the most outrageous things.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to like win any of the debates.
No.
He just needs to like have such a big presence on social media that it's impossible to avoid him, which is what he did. And like the content creation stuff was also just like the propaganda arm for the actual organizational and like real life political actions that he was doing. Like the I'm just debating and prove me wrong about stuff like that was just propaganda.
Yeah.
That wasn't his actual like job.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I feel like maybe just as people who are very in tune with how this job works, how content creation works and what doesn't on YouTube, it's like to us, that's like clear as day.
Yeah.
But maybe to like other people, they like don't really get that. I don't know.
I mean, I would say like we're kind of at the point where we are along the timeline of Nazi Germany, but before the gas chambers. Like, we are occupying other places. I mean, we are funding the war. It's not a war. We're funding the genocide against Palestine and occupying it and talking about how we're going to build resorts there. Like, that's the same thing that, you know, the Nazis were occupying other countries. So we're doing the same thing that they were doing. We are creating ghettos and putting, like, marginalized people in just the same way that the Nazis did to the Jews.
Yeah.
We're putting people in concentration camps already. And like large concentration camps, this is real. But we have not done the gas chambers thing yet, as far as anyone knows. Up to that point, was Joseph Goebbels just a guy who wanted to speak?
Yeah.
Because because he was the propaganda minister for the Nazis, if you don't realize, like, for the audience, I know that you know that. But at that point, was he doing politics the right way? until the gas chambers, did he like, hey, he didn't go too far. All he did was speak, because that's what's comparable with Charlie Kirk in my mind.
Well, and I think that a lot of people unfortunately do think that.
Yeah.
Because I recently, after the Charlie Kirk thing happened, had a little back and forth with someone on Instagram who really didn't like what I had to say, because I was posting stuff that maybe to some people was controversial. To me, it's not. And it's like objectively true. But they said something along the line, because I was like talking about how Charlie Kirk is a white supremacist and like basically a Nazi. And they were saying, no, like, they were like, girl, that's like so crazy. Like, he's not a Nazi. Like, Nazis kill people. And I'm just like, so do you think that like the Nazis of like Nazi Germany were not Nazis up until the point that they actually, put somebody in a gas chamber or shot somebody in the head or starved someone to death?
Yeah.
Up until that point, they weren't a Nazi, and suddenly when they did that, they like magically became one?
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it works. Like, that's just not how the world works. Like,
or like, if you were only advocating for that violence, then you weren't really a Nazi. You were only a Nazi if you were the one pulling the trigger.
Apparently, that's what that person thinks.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're somebody who's advocating for violence, just like Charlie Kirk did, even if you're not like directly the one pulling the trigger, if the policies you're enacting are leading to people's deaths, and especially marginalized people's, then like, you are a murderer.
Yeah.
Like, you are a Nazi. Like, that's how that stuff works.
Yeah.
And so I think the main thing I wanted to say with this video, and maybe we can like wrap it up with this, is that the Hannah Brown scandal, I think, is really scary to me, because I think it's a good reflection of where we are as a society dealing with a lot of the stuff that's coming down from the Trump administration, where it's like, we're just openly going to memorials or vigils for like KKK members, and then getting really snarky when we're called out for it, and then saying, oh, I was just going to pay my respects, as if there's anything at all that's worthy of respect from us about when it comes to Charlie Kirk. Like, there's nothing to celebrate about his life.
Yeah.
Like, do I wish death upon him, or did I wish death upon him? No. But I'm like happy at least that he's not around to keep hurting people.
To me, the fact that this, kind of normie person who thinks that like their ideas are not even really political to begin with, their actions are not political to begin with, is essentially like not only siding with, but actively spouting like Nazi talking points.
Yeah.
Now that is actually normie behavior at this point, that is incredibly frightening. And I think it shows that we're not just like fighting back a small movement of fascism. Like we are there. We are in a fascist state now. Yeah.
And like something else that's really scary to me about this whole situation is that like before this happened with Hannah, she had like 800,000 followers on TikTok. Since this has all happened, and she hasn't posted at all since this last post, she's now over 1 million. And some people are speculating that like maybe she bought followers and that's why she's over 1 million now. But I think it's more likely that a lot of conservatives kind of caught wind of this whole scandal that happened and are following her in order to support her and show support for what she's saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of scary and unfortunate, because now, someone with such a massive platform is siding with fascists and is now creating another community and like ecosystem for a bunch of these people to exist and continue to like spread their message. Just, it's really scary.
Regardless of her kind of overall shittiness with this, I do not wish the MAGA following on her given how awful they are to women, especially like on the internet.
That's
so
probably not going to work out very well for her,
Probably
but wish her luck.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching, and sorry this video is a little bit of a depressing bummer than my stuff normally is, but it needed
Taylor
to
always
be
says,
talked
but
about.
look at Piggy. Look at him. He's so cute.
And a huge thank you to my patrons who helped make this video possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_Antibot. And if you'd like to support this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye.
Fuck the fascists.